Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. This is just an update from the blue UFO sighting. So many people saw it, and you can check out the video. You'll see the card for the video up at the top here, and also you can find the link in the description section. And some more information has come out from it, and I want to share just some more thoughts about this thing. And first off, as usual, Clyde Lewis is on top of this. He had an episode last night called Coloring the War Game, where he speculated that this was what the reports stated, which is a ballistics missile, that while correlation is not causation, and he says that a lot, he said that this was probably a test missile in order to flex the muscles of the United States military, the military-industrial complex, and suggested that this was part of the Cold War right now that we're in with China, this economic war that we're in with China and Russia. And it's a good theory. It's definitely backed up by some facts. He found a document, a Congressional Research Service document that was published on September 21st, 2015. China Naval Modernization, Implications for U.S. Navy Capabilities, Background and Issues for Congress. And it outlines the need for the United States to keep up with China and their naval modernization efforts. And so this could be related to that. And it's a good theory. And I'm more convinced that this is actually a missile of some kind. Maybe not what we're told, which was that it was a Trident II, but nevertheless, I do think it was a missile of some kind, not anything supernatural or interdimensional. LibertyNews.com published an article yesterday that stated, quote, breaking exclusive, Feds preparing for Anthrax attack from sky, exposes truth behind government drills at LAX. And they claim that they obtained secret documentation from a source that they cannot cite, which is always sort of suspicious, but nevertheless, they are suggesting that the document explains what the DHS and the Pentagon are doing, and it might have to do with an anthrax attack. Now, one of the things that this article cites is this upcoming EMS drill. And here are some quotes from this document that they published here, where it states that local health departments in Southern California will be conducting their Public Health Emergency Preparedness Cooperative Agreement mandated full-scale dispersing exercise in conjunction with a 2015 statewide medical and health exercise. The Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and Prevention has established aerosolized anthrax as the scenario for the exercise. Southern California exercise partners are encouraged to use that scenario and work with their local health departments for exercise planning. The aerosolized anthrax scenario will allow all to meet their exercise goals and objectives. That's very interesting. And then later on, this drill will be a week-long exercise and involve a simulated anthrax disbursement via aircraft along the California coast, influenced by the coastal onshore flow for broad infiltration of a bioterrorist attack. Very strange. Does it have anything to do with LAX, changing flight patterns? Does it have anything to do with this sighting of an alleged missile launch at a time when everyone can see it? Does it have anything to do with what I saw in the sky, which was the aftermath, a blue cloud that was left behind? Well, there's some video that was captured. Cyber Tribe Live is the one that caught this. This video is a time lapse from Bombay Beach, and it documents what they saw. Now, it looks like they're trying to catch, just the evening sky or whatever, a time lapse video. What they caught was basically the explosion of whatever was up there, the missile, and then the blue hue that was left. That's what I saw, the blue cloud that was left behind. And then you see also some things fall down there. Now, I don't know if that's the shells, but this is very interesting. Did we already get bombarded with phosphorus or some sort of anthrax? Now, I mentioned Ender's Game in my last video because in Ender's Game, and I'm sorry, if you haven't seen it, this is kind of the spoiler, but the main character is asked to do some drills to destroy an alien civilization, and he finds out after he is successful with destroying the civilization that it wasn't a drill, it was the real deal. Now, could this be something similar, that they're launching these things and there was another one launched in the middle of the day yesterday on Monday that no one saw because it was during the middle of the day. Are they literally spreading anthrax all over us right now? And, within less than 10 days, they're about to do this EMS test with the scenario being an anthrax disbursement via aircraft alongside the California coast. In other words, is this quote unquote drill going to be the real deal? And, Boy, I hope not, because I live here, and I have family here. It would be very difficult for me to just get up and leave, and I feel I'm called, if a situation like that does break out, to be here to witness to people and to stay here and preach the gospel to the end. But it's very strange that this is happening. Now, the other part of this is I was looking for similar footage of this missile. Now, this missile that we saw, or this UFO, I do believe it was a missile, was unlike anything we've really seen. Now, when we talk about a blue flame or a blue cloud, it usually is in reference to the Russian ICBMs, and they're supposed to have this blue trail, but the cloud is still white on that. But interestingly enough, what Clyde Lewis points out in his article here, and I'll link to that as well, is that in 2011, press reports states that China's military is developing electromagnetic pulse weapons that Beijing plans to use against U.S. aircraft carriers in any future conflict over Taiwan, according to an intelligence report made public on Thursday, July 21st, 2011. Now, this is interesting. In 2011, there was a UFO sighting in Japan. Well, UFO because we're not sure exactly what it is, and so I'm using UFO in the actual sense of the word, but it does look like a missile of some kind. And if you watch this video, and the video is labeled 2008 for some reason, but you can see something very similar to what we saw. It's not exactly horizontal. This missile has that arc angle that normal missiles seem to have, but there it is. You can see it, and it does something very similar at the end here where it spreads out and disperses. Now, that's the sign of a missile and, some sort of release point of it. And so, again, we don't know exactly what's going on there, but it's very similar. The only difference is the trail. The trail was not what we saw that day on Saturday. But when we compare it to the one that was seen over Southern California, and some say even, other places, it is much bigger. The explosion is huge. And people that I talked to, my neighbors, they said that it lit up the entire sky. And none of these other footages of missiles ever leaves this blue cloud, a very distinct cloud that was left behind. So bottom line, I have a hard time believing that this was actually a Trident II D5 missile as reported. I don't think that's what it was. I think it might be some classified stuff, some stuff that we've never seen. But again, even if it was a Trident II D5 missile, again, I bring up this point about why they would make everybody see it, in a time that it's just, so convenient, right? I mean, everybody's out, everybody's hanging out. It's a Saturday evening. Well, again, similar to Clyde Lewis's speculations, conspiracyanalyst.org Joshua Krause published an article today, The Disturbing Reason for the Navy's Trident Missile Test, and he cites something very interesting. It says here, it's pretty convenient given what Defense Secretary Ash Carter told the military a day before the launch. Quote, in the face of Russia's provocations and China's rise, Carter said, we must embrace innovative approaches to protect the United States and strengthen the international order. Very interesting stuff there. Russia is violating sovereignty in Ukraine and Georgia and is trying to intimidate the Baltic states. And in Syria, it is prolonging a civil war, the secretary added. At sea, in the air, in space, and in cyberspace, Russian actors have engaged in challenging activities. He told the audience, noting that Moscow's nuclear saber rattling raises questions about Russia's leaders' commitment to strategic stability. We do not seek to make Russia an enemy, Carter said, but make no mistake, the United States will defend our interests and our allies, the principal international order. And given that quote, he summarizes here, I think pretty succinctly, quote, essentially the military just issued a not-so-friendly reminder to China and Russia. They are still the toughest kid on the block, and they are still fully capable of turning their enemies to radioactive dust at a moment's notice. It's also the same sort of irresponsible and bellicose show of force that every dying empire gives in its final days. It's a sign that our government can no longer dominate the planet by conventional means. If they could, this nuclear display would be unnecessary. Let's just hope that the belligerent and increasingly desperate power players in Washington never make good on their threat. It's interesting that he brought up Russia because there is another sighting from Russia. This is again back in 2011. It's a pretty famous clip where a little, orange flaming ball looking thing turns blue and it spreads out. Very similar to what we saw, except it's falling instead of, in a horizontal fashion. And you can see it here on this video by Scott Waring. You can see the clip, how it turns to smoke. And then at the very end, it spreads out very similar to what we saw. But again, not exactly the same as what we saw on Saturday, but similar. So all that being said, I think there is something afoot between the nations, but at the same time, we know that war is a big moneymaker, and so they want to definitely have a war in any way possible because, of course, that's how the elite make their money. And it's a convenient way for population control. You know, lots of people killed, population goes down, and they make a lot of money. And perhaps all of this tampering or flexing is just another way to create a false flag attack in the United States, blame Russia, blame China, etc., etc. We'll just have to wait and see. But I do think that there is an elite war going on. And the unfortunate thing there is that us civilians are pretty much left in the dark, and if there are mass casualties, we're it. We are sort of the innocent bystanders and the commodity that is being threatened from other nations, if that is the case. And, you know, that's unfortunate because, you know, gone are the days when the people understood and knew what was going on in terms of warfare. And while even then there were classified information and not everything was public, at the very least, there was a sense of pride and nationalism, which was also part of the propaganda. But as, you know, the world has become global and tension between nations has become more and more difficult to maintain in the real sense because of the communication that happens with civilians between those nations. But behind the curtain, we don't know what's exactly going on, what kind of power play is happening. And that's unfortunate because we have a right to know. We really do have a right to know what's going on. But it's something to pray about because tying this back to, you know, my worldview and what I think about this whole thing, wars and rumors of wars, just as Jesus said. And I think we need to prepare our hearts and get ready because things can get very ugly, especially out here in the United States and this West Coast. It seems like it's kind of the stomping grounds for some sort of crazy action, either some kind of weapon emission or perhaps this anthrax thing. It seems to be grounds for it. And perhaps also because it's a perfect place for threats from other nations because there is a large nuclear plant in Southern California right on the beach called the San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station. Although it is closed or it's been decommissioned since 2013, you know, of course, it does still hold, you know, some radioactive material. So, in fact, there's more than 4,000 tons of radioactive waste stored at San Onofre. So if that place gets hit, boy, Southern California is in big, big trouble. And literally, guys, this thing is right on the ocean. Okay, this literally is on the beach. And, you know, here's a picture of it. There's jokes about it every time we drive by it, as you can see. But again, I think it's important for us to just be ready and hold fast to our faith. And let me just close for you with some encouragement. And this comes from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 19 through 25. And I think this mindset is one to keep as things get ugly out there. It says, "Therefore, brothers, since we have confidence to enter the holy places by the blood of Jesus, by the new and living way that he opened for us through the curtain, that is, through his flesh, and since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day drawing near." And I think this is an attitude that I'm going to keep as we look at this stuff. And it's not doom and gloom. It really is a chance to help people wake up to what's going on, but also to get to people with the gospel. And so with all this stuff, with all the weird, crazy stuff going on, that's always been my mission with this whole ministry. And I hope that it encourages you to do the same. So keep watch, guys, and I'll try to report on more stuff regarding this anthrax thing, if indeed it is the case that that's what's going on. So hope you guys have an awesome day. God bless.
Yeah, it's gotten bigger. What's that?
It's really hard to see from here, in the camera at least. Is that the line? That right there, the line?
Yeah, yeah. What is that blue? It's
You guys are
weird.
seeing
They got.
things I don't
Did you
see.
see how bright they got?
Weird.
Someone else has to have seen.
No, my buddy just called me and said he got the whole thing on video. I'm trying to see, yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
And I got like 2 or 3 text messages.
There are so many people that saw that.
Yeah, there's
Saw it
guaranteed.
from all over the place.
It's
all over
probably
LA.
it's probably military stuff,
Yeah.
but
Even from LA, even anywhere, you probably
Yeah,
could've seen
that is-
that was
yeah.
just amazingly bright. I couldn't believe how I saw it. I saw it coming out. I was like, what the? And there was another guy coming right behind him. Another weird little light
really,
following him. That's like where it got trippy. I was like, why is there 2 things that are going as fast as that?
well, that thing's fading over here. It's hard to see the blue on the camera here, but we'll probably catch it.
It's getting, it's a little dimmer now. They're getting further and further away, I think. Yeah, you really see it. It's almost completely.
Was it a straight line?
Yeah.
Look at that blue cloud. And that's where it like hit across here, 3 real bright lights, all of a sudden this blue cloud, and then it just big flare, and then it went down there and it got vertical, and it's over there somewhere.
Still way back there. I can sort of.
Yeah, you can sort of see it from here.
One more.
You still see it?
You can see a little bit of it over here, but it's hard to tell.
One light only now.
The street lights are hard to making it hard to
And
see.
but it's like, oh wait, they just went this way and then that way.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I see it.
They did. They went that way and then
Straight
came right
ahead.
over and starting to line up again.
Check by the hill.
I know,
We do
but,
our airsoft for.
but can you see it straight ahead?
Yeah, I see it
now it's
straight
starting to
ahead.
make a line again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can grab it on here. I don't know exactly where
I don't
it
know.
is.
That's so far away.
Yeah, it is pretty far.
Look at that blue cloud just hanging out there.
Yeah, the blue cloud is definitely. It's probably. Once I put it in the computer, I could probably like
Filter it out.
see it. Yeah. I'm just grabbing it.
The only thing that glows like that from ambient sunlight is jet fuel and phosphorus. The rocket fuel. Is it still? Can you still see it? It's still up there about what?
Yeah,
Is it just a one light?
it's very faint though.
Yeah, it's straight ahead.
Yeah, let me see.
But
If
you
I
should have seen it. It was 3 big. You saw the whole thing, right?
I didn't see the whole thing.
Oh, it's
my
3
buddy
big
did
bright
though.
lights right here, and then it flared out. Then this blue cloud came, and it was huge.
Yeah, it makes me think that it's probably some kind of military.
Like
Thing.
Oh yeah, Dad.
like a rocket.
Remember a couple days ago?
We
Jets
saw
flew-
we saw 2 F-18s scramble right over it.
Yeah, I heard there was
30
some
feet.
really low jets
Yeah, that was
a few days ago, a couple days ago.
Yeah, we saw that.
San Clemente.
San Juan Capo.
San Clemente.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Something up there. That's just a plane.
Yeah, it's probably
Blue
airplane.
clouds, sun fade away.
The clouds
Wasn't that
fading.
trippy?
Yeah.
You didn't see the whole thing. You should have seen it, Jake. You would have been freaking.